Olá a todos, bem-vindos ao meu canal. This is the third part, terceira parte of my three-part video where I discuss my 2-year journey of learning European Portuguese. But I also mentioned in the video before this that at phase 2, because I was talking about phase 2, my phase 2 at the time, to get from A2 to B1, I said that I was also learning Russian at that time, at that point I was also learning Russian. So the progress got it slowed down because I wasn't giving 100% to only Portuguese. I only have a limited time in the day, and at the end of the day, this is a hobby. This is something I do in my downtime or during listening to it when I do my chores or something, So I'm going to discuss now phase 3, which is where I'm at, or where I just stepped on to the pedestal of level 3 in my assessment of my own understanding and learning journey, language journey. So I would consider myself, I'm from 930 hours to right now I have 1,080 hours in European Portuguese. So I would consider myself on the road from B2 to C1, which is upper intermediate to lower proficient. So there's beginner A1, A2 based on the CFR. So beginner is low beginner, upper beginner A1, A2, and then intermediate would be B1, B2, and then proficient would be C1, C2, and then after C2, native speaker. Yes. So I think I am at least at a really strong B1, or I think I could consider myself like an upper intermediate, or I just stepped on, I just started my journey into upper intermediate. So I'm at B2, but I'm just starting, so maybe I'm at the end of B1 if you want to consider it that way, if you want to say it that way. So right now, what am I doing? I recently, in the last week, I realized that the podcast that I was listening to, I was watching on YouTube, I tried to look for podcasts on Spotify, and when I listened to these podcasts, I started listening to Que Voz Está and E o Resto História by Observador Pete. I realized that I can understand at least the individual words were actually popping out, and I could make the connection, and I could understand them, compared to before when I was most of the time just doing passive listening. So right now I'm doing more focused listening for native content, and then after a few days I realized that the normal speed was still too fast in these native podcasts, because these are podcasts for native speakers. These are for people who actually grew up speaking European Portuguese. So it's like me listening to a podcast in English. I don't have to be 100% focused, but I would know what the person is saying. So right now I'm working on listening to native content. I slowed it down to 0.9 because sometimes they do eat their words, like when a person's speaking English really, really fast, and it's not your native language. Sometimes words get blurred together, And so it makes sense because I'm not a native speaker. So at my level of where I just stepped onto the B2 level, I need to slow it down to 0.9, I realized. And then when I slowed it down to 0.9, it got easier to understand. And I'm also watching the new Netflix series O Rabo de Peixe. O Rabo de Peixe. Rabo de Peixe. Fishtail. It's about the drug epidemic in the Azores. And yes, I'm watching that. So more on focused listening on podcasts. Okay. And then I subscribe to Portuguese with Leo essays. So on Patreon, I got his the next level where I could get essays that he wrote about history, about various things, about different things, and I uploaded that to my link so I could read these essays. And for me, things like this is actually hard to come by because, once again, Portugal doesn't have a huge database of different things, because of course they would have their own like a niche of what people usually, or maybe literature that's really I don't know, profound or abstract, or real literature, which at this point of my journey I'm not ready for yet, and I'm not necessarily interested in it yet. But like the content that Leo gives, I'm interested in that. And then the content in Eu Resto da História, I'm also interested in that. So this was a short video. So that's it, basically where I am right now. And I would be, for comparison, if you want to see, I would link my first ever video in Portuguese, and then I will also link my latest video in Portuguese where I talk about minha primeira vez tinha COVID. And so where I'm at is practicing is of course constantly adding to my vocabulary, which is why I read essays and the transcript of the podcast in Eu Resto da História. So it's always the journey of acquiring more vocabulary. And now, instead of passive listening, which I'm doing now in French because it's a new language for 2023, I'm doing more focused listening for European Portuguese. So right now where I'm at is giving myself an hour a day at least for European Portuguese. So that would be maybe 15 minutes of a podcast while really trying to understand everything that's being said. Next, I would be watching like one episode of, let's say, O Rabo de Peixe, or you know, or maybe the whole hour will be listening to an entire podcast. But basically, it's to practice my listening more, because this is something that I'm still improving, trying to understand native speakers in the native pace. So that is it for my 3-part video series of my journey, my 2-year journey learning European Portuguese, and going through, like, telling the story, going through that, I realized that after 2 years, it's a huge thing, it's a big deal that I'm able to understand, or actually attempt to understand, native content. Though I have to slow it down a bit, but still being able to understand things, and all the hours that I've spent reading, writing, speaking, absorbing this beautiful language, and something that I am proud of as an achievement. So thank you for watching this video, and if you picked up anything, leave a comment below, or if you want to congratulate me, I don't know. So thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next one. Ciao.